Welcome back to Marketing Ninja Unleashed. We're on Season 3, Episode 6, and today we're talking to Séan Smith from Infosmith about something that I was really intrigued by when we were chatting at a networking meeting recently. And that's AI readiness in the data world. He talks about some of the steps that businesses should be taking to be AI ready, and we also discuss how objectives are so important when it comes to planning your data strategy. And we talk about why data quality is so important for businesses to make sure that you're measuring the right things and know that you're doing well. Hi everyone, welcome to Marketing Ninja Unleashed. This episode is a special one because I've got another guest with me today. Now, you might have guessed that I quite like data. And I always try to use data wherever I can because guesswork can push you down the wrong path very easily. So today I've got Séan Smith from Infosmith with me, and he's a data whiz. I was talking to Séan at one of the Find a Biz networking meetings a few weeks ago about AI readiness. And one of the things that he's seeing a lot of is how companies are jumping on the AI bandwagon without actually ensuring their data is ready, and he's been seeing how bad that can be for your business. Quite scary, really. So over to you, Séan. Tell us, what is AI readiness?
Thank you, Rena. Pleasure to be on this podcast. As I said to you earlier, I feel like we've communicated quite a lot recently during networking meetings and everything else. And it's really interesting hearing what you've had to say on your podcast so far. So great to be here. So yeah, AI readiness is something that's obviously quite pervasive in a lot of businesses at the moment. There's a big trend in people going towards AI, and everything has to have AI. I mean, if your toothbrush could have it on, I'm sure people would have it at the moment. There's a way somebody described it to me the other day. But as part of a local initiative, I've been asked to participate with Innovate UK. We've actually come up with a program where I'm involved in preparing businesses for AI by talking to them about data literacy and trying to prepare businesses for that next step, which is obviously coming. It's here. People are clambering for it, but I don't think people really understand what impact AI has on their businesses. So there's a bit of a stat I'd like to throw at you because I'm a stats person. So that's one of those things. And what that is that 38% of business leaders don't really know the impact that AI will have on their businesses. And that's across the board. That's a stat from I believe that's from MIT, where they've sort of done a bit of a survey across businesses of all sizes and shapes. And they've sort of said that that's over a third of businesses just don't have any idea, let alone a solid idea of what impact AI will have on them.
That's really scary, isn't it? Considering how quickly things are changing in the AI world. Knowing that business owners don't actually know what's going to happen or what's going on is a worrying thought.
It is a worrying thought, but I think it's also one of those things where because people have we've grown, like especially people my age who, I hate to say it, I'm an early millennial, so I'm getting up there. You grow up with these images of AI being like a Terminator or your Skynet type of things, or what's the one with Matthew Broderick in War Games, those type of things where there's this whole calamity and AI can do everything and it's this all powerful thing. Whereas I think the route that we're going down now is more specified AI. So you won't have anything that'll look like the Terminator and do every job under the sun, but you'll have AI that are specifically chosen for tasks and routines. And you see that in the way that you program your own AI at home. So if you're using Copilot, ChatGPT, or any of the other amalgams of AIs that come out there, there are a lot of opportunities to train things in ways that your brain thinks. Now, obviously, we see this in a creative way, where, as you mentioned on your first podcast, I believe you're talking about the way that your eye picks up details where the two the two parts of the poster don't line up correctly. So there's this whole thing of you're very specific in ways that you look for things, and you could probably train AI to look for similar things, but it won't have that human element for quite a while. I believe we're talking like 5-10 years before you can get to the part where you're walking past something and your subconscious picks up on something, and then you'll have to have a look at it to understand why it doesn't look quite right. The whole when you walk past a picture and it's slightly off center and you, why does that not look right?
Yeah. it's doing the double take, isn't it? Exactly what I did when I was on the London Underground. It's the weirdest post. I thought it looks really great, but something's not
exactly.
right.
So there's a lot of nuances to how your brain works and how you interact with things. However, when it comes to specifically data, which is where my remit lies, a lot of people think, well, I can just drag all this information in and AI will do everything and fix everything for you. Now, there are a lot of things that are built to integrate with a lot of existing softwares. So if you're using software, you don't have to extract things, you don't have to put them through an Excel spreadsheet, you don't have to manually manipulate them because somebody has programmed those AI to do the intervening steps that you would do normally. So like when you're typing in cues into your AI interface, you're saying, can you look at this data and pick out X, Y, and Z? But your data has to be labeled correctly. It has to be understood, and you have to know what you're asking for from it. And I know me and you have had chats outside of this about data literacy, and I know your husband's big on that sort of thing. So I'm quite intrigued to hear that when it comes out. But there's definitely a need for data literacy, especially in business leaders, because if they don't know what questions they want to ask from their business, then how are they going to know whether they're getting the right answers?
Very true. Yep, that makes perfect sense. And there are a lot of leaders making assumptions, but not realizing that you can use data to help you make decisions as well. So yeah, definitely. There's a huge need for data literacy. And one of the other things that I talk about with my husband is data quality, because I don't think people realize how important that is from the outset. Like there's a saying that my husband's always going on about, is you put crap in and you get crap out, essentially. Apologies if I've offended any of my listeners with that word, but actually it's very, very true. So yeah, there's a lot that we can talk about on data, and it is something that gets me quite excited as well, weirdly. But I will let you carry on.
No, it's always nice to hear somebody who is actually excited about data and spreadsheets, because I can talk to some people and you just see them glaze over. I'm sure some of your listeners have probably done exactly the same, so I do apologise in advance for that.
I'm sure there's a few more lovers of spreadsheets out there as well. If you are a lover of spreadsheet, let me know. I'd love to hear a little bit more about you.
So another stat that has literally just been released at the end of August was that 95% of early adopting businesses into AI, where they've invested money and invested time and resources. So they've had these sort of things, like the non free-to-play version, if you like, for more than a year now, have actually struggled to see a return on investment. Because again, they're probably not asking the right questions. They don't know exactly what they want it to do for them. They just think it's a new toy, it's a new tool. And it's actually been compared to sort of the electronic revolution that we had 20, 30 years ago, where everybody moved away from paper-based things into spreadsheets and Word documents and all that sort of stuff, where there's an initial massive influx of people going, oh, a new toy, let's play with it, let's see what it can do. But they didn't really realize how to get the most out of it. So there's a speed to competency issue from users, and there's, again, like I say, there's this expectation that it will fix everything, whereas you and me both know that it's not. You're not waving a magic wand. You're asking a tool to do something very specific for you. I feel like I've been a bit doom and gloom with all this. I do apologise. I'm a big fan of AI. I'm just going to put that out there. But I think it's about, as with everything, it's about knowing the limits and understanding what you need to know before you can get to AI. So it's all about having that readiness plan.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I guess this affects all different types of businesses as well, not just smaller business, not just the bigger businesses. It will affect businesses of all sizes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So any business that uses data specifically is going to be impacted by this. It's an odd one, really, because I work with businesses of different sizes. I've come from a background of working with FTSE 500 and 250 companies, New York Stock Exchange companies, as well as public sector businesses over here in the UK. And it's one of those things where just because you've got a lot of data doesn't mean you understand what to do with it. And just because you've got processes in place doesn't mean it's the best way of doing something. So if you layer, as you were saying earlier, as you rightly said, if it's rubbish in, it's rubbish out. So if you're layering AI on top of that, it's like, I had it described to me the other day as if you're training a puppy, which I thought was a good analogy. You train a dog for different reasons. You can have it as a house pet, you can have it as a guard dog, you can have it as a sniffer dog, you can have it as a guide dog. right? But they all have to be trained in very specific ways. But you also have to want to know what you're getting out of this. Are you getting a pet or are you getting a working dog out of it for a start off? So if you're using AI as a tool and you're training AI to do something, you've still got to know what you want it to do before you can sort of sign off on it. So when you train up a new member of staff, you're doing exactly the same thing. You've got to know that the processes they're going through are the ones that you want them to go through to get the right result.
It is, like you say, about putting a plan in place and making sure you've got an objective to work to as well. Because if you don't know what you want to get to, you have no idea how to get there either. So the first step is figure out what you want to do, I guess.
It's something that I'm a big supporter of, is like process is a big thing, but you've got to have a purpose behind that process, because how are you going to know when you succeed is the biggest one. Like I'm sure you see that all the time in what you do. If somebody's going, I want to sell more stuff and I want to get more visibility of X, Y, and Z, how do you know when you're hitting those benchmarks along the way? Yeah. KPIs, big, very important. Yes, or OKRs.
Yes, definitely. I usually hear, I want to be on TikTok. And my first question is why? What do you want to get out of this? So yeah, completely agree. So once you've got your objective, you've got a bit of a process in place. What happens next then? How do you make sure you are ready for AI when it hits?
So this is, again, something that I'm working on alongside several different institutions, including representatives of the University of Nottingham. The idea is that we're building a program to sort of think about how you assess your actual readiness. It's a bit like an MOT for in this instance, for your data. So that's the part I'll be working on. So it's a case of, okay, do your brakes work? Are your light bulbs all working? Is your engine rattling? All these sort of things. What's your emissions like? All that sort of stuff, but for your data. So is your data clearly labeled? Are you getting it from reputable sources? Do you have processes in place that already do what you're asking AI to do, or is this a brand new function? How are you benchmarking your results, and what sort of results do you want to see from staff? So again, like we go back to, there's no point in having something if you don't know what you want to get from it. And these are the sort of issues that a lot of this, like I say, 95% of these early adopters hadn't got in place before they started looking at these sort of things. So there is no, I think, like I say, they got this idea of, we'll put AI in, AI will fix everything. Whereas what they actually wanted was, AI needs to fix this specific problem. And then if that works, we can bolt this problem on the end and this problem on the end and this problem. So as long as you're taking it a step at a time and using it as a tool for that specific purpose, I think that's great. What we don't want to do, which is the danger behind this, and I feel like this is an all-encompassing issue that AI is going to raise, is we don't want to get rid of the human expertise in any industry. If you're using AI like a proper tool, like you use, for example, 20 years ago, you'd have been using macros in Excel, to speed up a process that you're doing all the time. You're just productionizing it. That's great. But if you're using it to replace someone, I think that's where you're getting into this area of, how are you replacing that person? Are you waiting until they retire and not hiring somebody else in? That's one way of doing it, or waiting for them to leave and not replacing somebody. Or are you training up their replacement that you don't have to pay anything to? Do you see what I mean? It gets into these legal issues of, more moral issues, I suppose. You don't want to get rid of people.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's, again, the same across the board, isn't it? With AI, you can see copywriters are getting nervous, graphic designers getting nervous. There's even, to be fair, even marketers, there are tools out there that will allow you to do all your marketing in less than 30 minutes by just giving it a few prompts. Sounds great, but you're missing the human expertise. You might be missing the mark completely, and you still need a human at the moment to put the prompts in, because without that, you'd really struggle. And then there's all the fun side, like you say, of making people redundant, losing people, and ideally bringing people on board. But I know that's a whole other issue, and trying to change the culture, I guess, to have people to accept AI and work with it rather than work against it and fear it more than anything. So all sounds very exciting. So next steps then, if somebody is interested in having this MOT from you, how would they get in touch? How would you like them to contact you?
For more information on what Infosmith are offering, you can go to our website, which is www.infosmith.co.uk. You can contact us on LinkedIn, or you can go to my LinkedIn, which I'm sure you'll share in the description below, sort of thing. And there are, like as I say, there are programs in place. One of them is a good one, which is run by the Institute in Loughborough. That's the one that I'm involved in, and I'm just one of the many experts they bring in to talk about different areas of expertise. I deal with data strategy. Somebody else I've met a couple of times deals with the data analytics side of things, but then they also talk about ethics and the moral implications, but also then they talk about copywriting issues and things like that we've just discussed as well, because obviously they are key components. So I think it's like anything else, as long as you've got a strategy and a policy in place that is robust enough, I think AI will be a fantastic tool, but it's not something people should be spending thousands of pounds on just because it says AI.
Completely agree. Right. I will make sure all of the links are in the description, like you said. So if you can send them across, I will make sure they're here in the description. So thank you very much for your time, Sean. It's been great.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Sean. It's been really interesting to see how many companies are not actually ready to use AI and what they need to do to get ready. So if anyone is interested in the AI readiness audits that Sean is offering, you can reach him by email, LinkedIn, or visiting his website. All the contact details are in the description. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. I'm loving having guests on sharing what they're passionate about. Hopefully it helps you in your businesses too. Make sure you're following Marketing Ninja Unleashed wherever you listen to your podcast so you don't miss out on the next one. And as always, You and Your Story is here to make sure your story is the one that the world won't forget.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.